Hello nerds and nerdettes, and welcome back to the channel where once again we have a new video for you guys. We are entering into a new month, which is November 2024, which means new releases and new books. So this video that you are watching today is my top 10 most anticipated releases of the month that I will be looking out for, but I also think you all should be too. Now, before we jump into the list, a very quick reminder that if you are looking to pre-order any of the books that I'm about to talk about, you can use the channel sponsor, organicpricebooks.com. You can use the discount code STAYNERDY for $2 off your order, or if you're ordering 4 or more books, you can use the code STAYNERDY, ship it together, to save yourself 5% on that entire order. It's a great way to save yourself some money, but it also helps out the channel when you use that code. So thank you all for considering, and let's go ahead and jump into the list, starting with, of course, number 10. And coming in at number 10 is Manifest Destiny, the Deluxe Edition Book 2. This has a cover price of $59.99, a release date of November 13th, 2024, and a page count of 560 pages. So like I said, this is book 2. Book 1 has already been released. I did pick up book 1 because of the recommendation of it coming from Mitch at the Omnibus channel, who I consider to pretty much be the king of the indie comics game at this point, especially here on YouTube. It came with high praise coming from him, so I wanted to check it out. I haven't finished all of book 1. I think I'm maybe like 5 issues in. Had to put it down because it came out around when I moved into my new house now. So I wasn't able to finish it, but what I did read, I really enjoyed. This is a retelling of Lewis and Clark exploring the American frontier, and it has a lot of adventure-y elements, but from what I've heard and what I've been told, some more mystical elements get wrapped into it, and it becomes a little bit more comic booky and not as focused on the adventuring of the new American frontier like you would kind of expect from a Lewis and Clark style comic. But definitely a lot of fun from what I've read. I'm excited to continue reading and get into this more fantastical genre that I guess it gets into in the later half of book 1 and much more into the book 2 that we're referencing right now. So really exciting, really pumped. This is not a major title from Image, so it's really cool that it's getting a deluxe edition. Hopefully we see more of that happening, more titles that don't have a massive fan base getting deluxe editions, so we can actually experience these titles in really beautiful formats. But still pumped to get it in. I have book 1. I would never just get a book 1 and stop there, so I'm very excited to get this into the library and continue reading once I get around to it. But my TBR log is very long, especially after the storms and the move and everything else that took place. So excited to get back into it, but that is number 10. So let's go ahead and jump into number 9. And coming in at number 9 is actually a manga, and that is Ain The Demihumans Complete 1. This has a release date of November 2nd, at least that's the date that I found, a cover price of $24.99, and a page count of 620 pages. I'm assuming this is going to be like a 3-in-1 omnibus softcover edition. I don't exactly know what the complete means, but I assume it is going to be an omnibus. But Ain Demihumans is an anime that I watched, but I have not read the manga. The anime, I was always a huge fan of the story, which is essentially humans that are unable to be killed, but the only real way for you to find out if you are a Ain, which is a unkillable human, an immortal human, is by dying and coming back to life. And the Ain, the demihumans, the immortal humans, are looked at very harshly and critically by the rest of the humans as kind of a threat. And Ain also has one of my favorite antagonists in the series, which is a very chilling character, but kind of likable at the same time. But really good anime, but was never a huge fan of the animation style, unfortunately. So I always wanted to read the manga so I can re-experience the story in a format that is a little bit more desirable for my taste. But The Ajin volumes were always so small and so tiny. They're actually smaller than a standard tankobon, but at least height-wise. So I never felt like it was enough bang for my buck. I didn't want to dive into that format and kind of just feel like I was throwing money away. So I was hoping and praying that we would get a better format, and here we are with a little bit better of a format. So I plan on checking it out in this collection, the complete. This is volume 1, so I do assume they plan to continue and eventually finish all of Ajin in these complete little volumes that they're putting out. But really good stuff, really good story. There's some incredible action in here, if it's anything like the anime at least, and I have seen some panels and scans from this specific manga as well. So the illustrating and the storytelling, the paneling is immaculate, absolutely beautiful. Some of the most intelligent and well choreographed fight scenes and gunplay in a manga that I've probably ever seen. So really excited to read it in its entirety from beginning to end and actually have a format that's a little bit more appealing to my eyes at least. So really pumped, excited that it's getting a format that I actually want to collect now and I can eventually read. But that does wrap up number 9, a rare appearance of manga on my top 10 list. So let's go ahead and jump into number 8. And coming in at number 8 is Scalped, the Omnibus Volume 1. This is a reprint, I believe. I never had the original printing, so correct me in the comments down below. This does have a cover price of $75, which is pretty impressive there. And then we do have a release date of November 12th, 2024, and a page count of 752 pages. So not a massive Omni, which is probably why we have that $75 cover price there. Never read this, never had it in the collection, but it is written by Jason Aaron. I am a huge fan of Jason Aaron. I like almost every single title that I've ever read that Jason Aaron has done, especially his Thor run. We all know that Thor run, and it is incredible. Absolutely love it. I love the work he did on Hulk. So a lot of the stuff that he did over at Marvel, I really liked, and I'm also really liking his Ninja Turtles run that he's currently doing as well. So really good stuff. Incredible writer, well-known writer. We do have, for the illustrator, RM Gura, I think that's how you pronounce it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I'm horrible with pronunciations. But the art throughout this entire thing that I've seen through, obviously, panels, scans, overviews, everything like that, absolutely beautiful as well. Very excited to finally check this out and finally read it. It is a DC Black Label book, so obviously mileage may vary. It's going to be much more targeted towards mature readers, so be prepared for that. This may not be an omnibus you want to buy for your son or your daughter or anything like that unless they're of age, but really excited to get into it. It's not superhero-y at all, even though it's a DC book. It's grounded in reality, has to do with very realistic characters, realistic scenarios, and even though I'm more of a superhero reader, I do tend to dabble in the more realistic storytelling realm from time to time, but this is one that I've had my eye on for ages, so it's time to take the dive and see what it's all about, and see if Jason Aaron is one of my top 5, top 10 favorite writers, whether he's writing superheroes or not. But that does wrap up number 8. Was that number 8? That does wrap up number 8, so let's go ahead and jump into number 7. And coming in at number 7 is Star Wars The High Republic Phase 2, the Omnibus Quest of the Jedi. We do have a cover price of $75, a release date of November 12th, 2024. That may be a busy release day, so be aware for budgeting reasons. And then we do have a page count of 360 pages, which does confirm, very similar to that of Star Wars The High Republic Phase 1 Omnibus, that this is going to be a very thin omnibus. Yes, an argument can be made that they could have just waited on these omnis and put all the phases in one solid omnibus or one High Republic omnibus, but I think it's going to be kind of cool to see all the phases lined up on the shelf collecting the High Republic era. So I don't know, I'm indifferent. I don't mind what route they go, but I do agree that argument can be made. But pretty much what this is this is the in-canon even prequels of Star Wars before the Skywalker era or anything like that. This is essentially like the Old Republic kind of era of Star Wars, establishing and building up the lore before any of the movies or any of the animated series, and it is so awesome. The first omnibus was a lot of fun, had a lot of Star Warsy and Jedi action, because this is where the Jedi are flourishing. This is not during the rule of the Empire, where Jedis are borderline extinct or anything like that. This is where there's a lot of Jedi, and being a Jedi is a thing. It's very popular. It's not questioned. It's just a way of life, and you get to meet a lot of amazing characters. This is the continuation of that title. I have not read anything that is in this omnibus, but I've recently rediscovered my love for Star Wars lore in recent days, and have really been enjoying the Tales of the Jedi omnibus, the High Republic omnibus, all of those stories that take place before the movies that we know and love, and I've been really enjoying those aspects, whether they're in canon or not. But this is the in-canon pre-movie era of Star Wars, where Jedis kind of ruled and they were flourishing and weren't struggling to exist that the way that we kind of know them in modern pop culture. So if you do want the canon pre-Skywalker era stuff, and you don't want to dive into the stuff that was written by Dark Horse that were in those Star Wars Legends omnibus, this is the stuff that you need to pick up, and this is what will flesh out that era of Star Wars. So really good stuff. Love Phase 1, excited to get into Phase 2. Phase 1 was a little confusing at times because it was a story being told between novels, young adult novels. There's even a manga out, and all of those kind of culminated into one big story. But this, I don't know if it's the exact same thing or if it's similar. Not exactly sure, but I'm here for the Star Wars comics and the Jedi action and everything like that. So I'm picking it up no matter what. I wasn't lost during Phase 1. Anything I am lost with, the internet is a great resource. So I plan to pick this up and see how much I enjoy it. But that does wrap up. Keep forgetting where we're at. Number 7. So we can go ahead and jump into number 6. And coming in at number 6 is Hulk by Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley. The omnibus. Man, did this sneak up on me. I didn't even know this was a thing. But we do have a cover price of $75. A release date of November 12th, 2024. Remember when I said that was going to be a busy day? And then a page count of 424 pages. So this is, once again, a very thin omnibus. This is written by Donny Cates and illustrated by Ryan Ottley, the artist very well known for his work on Invincible. He also did a lot of the artwork, if not the entire first half of the artwork, on the Spider-Man by Nick Spencer run. So very well-known name when it comes to the art. And then also a very well-known name when it comes to the writing, because this is Donny Cates. This was the man that was behind the King in Black event. He was behind the very well-renowned and beloved Venom run that kind of led into King in Black and Absolute Carnage. So really good stuff as far as Donny Cates' writing and all of the titles that he's written on. Now when it comes to this title, I can't exactly say the same thing. I would probably say maybe 5 or 6, maybe even 7 issues of this run, because I was so excited for 2 of my favorite creators to be on the Hulk, and I thought Donny Cates' mind and how he kind of plays with the torment that heroes go through and the trauma that they exist with because of their past or what they've been through. I thought that was going to lend beautifully to Hulk, so I was very excited. And then when I heard Ryan Ottley was going to be drawing it, his brutal and cartoony yet perfect illustrations, I was very excited to check this out, but I was let down, probably like a lot of us, because I know that this was not very well received in the community. Now you're probably wondering, why is it at number 6? Because I'm really excited to give it a second try. I don't know why. I saw an overview recently where they were flipping through the book and just something in me got me excited again. So I am willing to get this omnibus, give it a reread, see how I feel about it, if my thoughts have changed, if maybe it's my new favorite Hulk run, probably not, but still, I do plan to reread it and see if my opinion on it changes or if it stays the same. And if, hypothetically, I still don't enjoy the story, I at least have Ryan Otley's beautiful art on the Hulk, so why not? And I do know I at least like Banner of War, which is a Hulk and Thor tie-in, so at worst, I have one of my favorite tie-ins between those two characters collected in this omnibus, but still, I'm excited to try it. I recommend everyone always rereading something you dislike after some time has passed. See if that changes. As we change as people, our taste in comics changes, so give things at least 2-3 tries before completely writing it off. That's at least my opinion on it, but very excited to check this out. Crazy that it's an omnibus. I mean, I think Hulk is going to be incredibly collected through the omnibus format. I mean, I think we may be missing like 2 omnibuses to kind of finish his era of existence, at least in the modern age. So really excited to get this in and get Hulk that much more finished in the collection. But if you guys do have opinions on this, make sure to share it down below. Let me know your thoughts if you plan on picking this up, if you liked this run, if you disliked this run. I would love to hear from you guys. But that wraps up number 6, so let's go ahead into my top 5, starting with number 5. And kicking off the top 5 is Punisher Max by Jason Aaron and Steve Dillon, the omnibus. This is a reprint. We have a cover price of $100, a release date of November 5th, 2024, and a page count of 544 pages. I know that when you hear Punisher Max, most people think of Garth Ennis and his incredible run on Punisher Max, where he really fleshes out the character of Frank Castle and shows us that Punisher existed in Frank Castle all along, and the death of his family is what unlocked the Punisher inside of Frank. But this has always been my preferred Punisher Max run. I don't always know why, but I do know that when I think of me reading those 2 titles, I find myself leaning towards Jason Aaron's run. And I think that's typically because of Jason Aaron's writing style. It's a little bit more simplistic and a little bit more comic booky, action forward. There's a lot of brutality in here, but it just feels so comic booky. And one of the things that I love about comic books the most is when it feels so removed from reality, when it feels so far-fetched. It's something that I can't experience in real life, and it's able to take me out of real life just a little bit and experience something new, something I haven't read, haven't expected in comics, or haven't watched in movies. And that's exactly what I feel like I get a little bit more from when it comes to Jason Aaron's run. Now, when it comes to both of them, they are not for kids by any means. I mean, Punisher isn't really a kid-friendly character in general, but Punisher Max, whether it's by Garth Ennis or Jason Aaron, is 100% geared towards adults. I do think that Jason Aaron's run is a little bit more geared towards adults. I think, at least when it comes to the imagery, I think Garth Ennis's run plays a little bit more with some touchy subjects. But Jason Aaron's run has some brutal scenes that take place in here, so do not give this to your son or daughter unless they're of age. Don't read this to your kid before bed or anything like that. That is not what these omnibuses are for. But whether it is Garth Ennis's run or the Jason Aaron run that we're referencing right now, this is, for a lot of people, the definitive era of Punisher. It's just that Punisher Max era in general, where Punisher was unlocked in comic books, where he could be just as brutal and just as horrible and borderline sadistic as he wanted to be inside comic books. And that's kind of the point of Punisher. I mean, he is a anti-hero that kills everyone that he pretty much sees as a villain or doing anything bad or unjust. He is justice for them. So really, really good stuff here. I do recommend Punisher Max for anybody that wants to get into Punisher that is of age, whether it is the Garth Ennis or the book that we're talking about right now, which is the Jason Aaron run. So definitely check it out if you haven't already. Let me know your thoughts, and let's go ahead and jump into number 4. And coming in at number 4 is Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Hard Traveling Heroes, the Omnibus. Finally a thing. I don't know how this is just now coming out, but I digress. That's a whole nother topic. We do have a cover price of $125, a release date of November 5th, 2024, and a whammy page count of 1,152 pages. Finally, a larger omnibus. I felt like I was only talking about slimmer omnibuses on the 400 to 500 page count scale. Finally, an actual omnibus here. But this does have two legendary creators in the comic book world on this title, which is Dennis O'Neil and Neil Adams. Dennis O'Neil on writing duties and Neil Adams on illustrating duties. If that doesn't sell the book alone, then I don't know what will. These are two creators that you kind of just have to experience at least once, and this is probably their magnum opus. This is what, when everyone thinks about these two creators, typically thinks about this title here. This is also a famous title as well, and a famous run. This is where we see the first introduction and appearance of John Stewart. This is where we see, or at least find out, that Speedy, Oliver Queen / Green Arrow's ward, is on hard drugs, and we get that iconic cover that we all definitely know at this point. But you also get some very thought-provoking writing through this entire run by Dennis O'Neil, where we get to see differing mindsets and lenses through the characters of Green Arrow and Green Lantern, one of which has a more conservative and traditional lens on the world, while the other has a more progressive and libertarian view on the world, and they are pretty much together traveling the world, fighting crime, doing their superhero thing, but also experiencing a lot of things for the first time on the ground level that they are traveling. But such incredible writing here, such incredible moments. Neil Adams' best work, I think, personally, in my opinion, is in this book. Some of the panels here were character defining. They were ahead of their times. The paneling in here was beautiful. I think this is one of those titles where a modern reader can read this and have no issues reading it. I don't think it aged poorly at all. If anything, it aged like a fine wine, and I highly recommend anybody that hasn't read it to read this. I do have the deluxe edition in my library. I don't know why I couldn't think of library there. But I am going to be upgrading to this omnibus because this is going to collect obviously a lot more than a deluxe edition. So exciting, so pumped, can't wait for this to come out, and don't know how it's not already a thing and not already out. But like I said, that's a different topic for another day. But such a great story. Please do yourself a favor and check this out if you haven't already, whether it's in this omnibus format, the deluxe edition, trade paperbacks, somehow single issues if you can find those. Just read this. It is such a thought-provoking title and story that I think everybody reading comics should at least read it once. But that wraps up number 4, so let's go ahead in my top 3. And kicking off my top 3, at number 3 is Junkyard Joe, the deluxe edition hardcover. We do have a release date of November 27th, 2024, a cover price of $34.99, and a page count of 208 pages. Yet another slimmer edition here on the list. This is primarily making an appearance here because this is my favorite creative team in comics, which is Jeff Johns and Gary Frank. I loved Geiger. I loved really anything that they've ever done together. I love all of their Superman work that they did with Brainiac and Legion of Superheroes and Secret Origin. But I also really liked Geiger as well. And Junkyard Joe is the exact same creative team. This is out from Ghost Machine, which is their imprint that they are pretty much coming up with ideas, completely creator-owned, publishing out of Image. And Geiger has been great. I just read the first issue of Hyde Street, which is Jeff Johns but Ivan Reyes on art. So all of the titles that I've touched on by Ghost Machine have been incredible, and I've heard nothing but the same thing from everybody else that's reading it. So really excited to get this in, read it, and add yet another book, another title to my repertoire or reading list from Ghost Machine, because they are definitely going to be a publisher you want to keep your eyes out for. I'd probably say Distillery and Ghost Machine are two publishers out there that are putting out some pretty solid stuff and some pretty just incredible comics and incredible literature in general. So you definitely want to watch both of those, but Ghost Machine is really, really killing it and keeping it into the comic booky tropes that we all know and love. Geiger was, it felt like a superhero story, but so much more darker and so much more human. Junkyard Joe is very similar to that. We have a robot-like character that helps during wars, from what I've heard. So once again, a very superhero-like story, but with a darker and more grounded twist to it. And it is my favorite creative team in comics, so no matter what they write, I'm going to be picking it up. It hurt me to pass on that Superman Absolute, but I don't collect Absolutes, so anything else they put out, I will be collecting. So here we are. That's exactly why I made it at number 3, so we can finish up here and then jump into number 2. And in at number 2, we have Superman, The Exile, and Other Stories, the Omnibus. This is a reprint finally coming out, even though you can still find it for some decent prices, the old printing at least. We do have a cover price of $125. We have a release date of November 26, 2024, and a page count of 912 pages. So this is the early 1980s of Superman. This is a major gap filler when it comes to the Man of Steel hardcovers, and then going into the Death and Return of Superman Omnibus. So this is going to be a major gap filler that takes place just before the Death and Return of Superman Omnibus. So if you want to collect all of Superman in Omnibus, then obviously you want to start getting the Triangle era, and then this is going to be a major one as well. But the creators on this is really the selling point, because you got George Perez, Jerry Ordway, Roger Stern, and you have some illustrating done by the legendary Curtis Swan, legendary Superman artist Curtis Swan. So really good stuff here. No matter what they're writing in this omnibus, it's one you should be reading with those names on this. But this is, like I said, going to be more important as a gap filler. There are some incredible stories in here. It's not a snooze fest. It's not a book that you can just not read and not get any value out of when it comes to comic books or the issues collected. There is still great stories in here, and it is a lot of fun. I think this is probably one of the most slept on omnibuses. Everyone that has bought it and never read it because they were like, oh, it's not a big Superman omnibus, but then they finally did. They were all pleasantly surprised by just how good these stories and issues and everything that is collected in this omnibus was. So if you don't want to take my word for it, you can watch some reviews and overviews and see just how many people were pleasantly surprised by the quality of what's collected. So still worth picking up. Great gap filler, but on top of it being a gap filler, it's also really enjoyable and a great read. So I think it's a win-win and worthy of that number 2 spot. Plus, it's my favorite DC character, so I'm not going to ever not pick up a Superman omnibus. That's just how I function as an individual. It's the same thing with Captain America omnibuses for Marvel. I like my big blue Boy Scouts. I don't know, sue me, but very excited that this is getting a reprint, and I can finally add it into the collection and put it just behind that Death and Return of Superman omnibus. But that does wrap up number 2, so let's finish up this video with number 1. And coming in at number 1, if my t-shirt did not give it away, is Green Lantern Corps Omnibus Volume 2. This has a release date of November 12th, 2024. That busy day I was referencing again. A cover price of $150, and that's because it is indeed a very big book with a page count of 1,000 328 pages. This is by Peter J. Tomasi and longtime collaborator Patrick Gleason. This is their run on Green Lantern Corps continuing. This is, for a lot of people, one of the titles that made this era of DC so great. It fleshed out that Green Lantern lore. Those Green Lantern characters that we all know and love had a major focus on Guy Gardner and Kyle Rayner. Kyle Rayner being a lot of people's favorite Lantern, Guy Gardner being a lot of people's least favorite Lantern. So there's great balance between those two characters here. But this is a sister title to the Green Lantern by Jeff Johns omnibuses, or title. And you can almost read them side by side, where Jeff Johns is primarily focusing on Hal Jordan and a lot of the main Green Lantern characters. You then have Peter J. Tomasi focusing on everyone else, all of the side characters, supporting characters, characters like Kilowog, just to name a few there. But really, really great stuff. Volume 1 was incredible. Saddam Yacht, Ion, Sinestro Corp War, all of the amazing, amazing storylines that we all know and love when it comes to Green Lantern, but being fleshed out outside of the focus of Hal Jordan. So really, really great stuff. If you liked Volume 1, continue with Volume 2, because you're going to be getting a lot of the same, a lot of the very similar focuses, repeating and reoccurring characters, a lot of the characters that you know and love that may or may not have died, making an appearance. So really, really great stuff. So much fun. This sometimes can take over Green Lantern by Jeff Johns as one of my favorite comic book titles, but I still say Green Lantern by Jeff Johns is my favorite comic book run ever. But this, at times, depending, can give it a run for its money. But this is definitely going to be one of those omnibuses that you're going to want to keep an eye on as well. And if you liked Volume 1, then this is definitely a no-brainer. I love Green Lantern Corps, so I'm always going to be picking it up. I got the t-shirt and everything. So here I am, #1 spot, Green Lantern Corps. Watch out for it and pick it up. But that wraps up today's video. Thank you so much for watching, each and every one of you guys. Like I always ask during these videos, sound off in the comments down below. Let me know what books, what titles I'm sleeping on. It's extremely hard to keep track of everything that comes out in a month, and it's even harder to narrow it down to 10 for this video. So comment down below, hold me accountable, tell me what I should be checking out, because I will be forever thankful for that. Also, if you are watching this and you're not a part of the community, hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell to join the community and be a part of my favorite place on the internet. And also, if you're watching, if you could do me a very quick favor and hit that little thumbs up icon there. It helps out a lot, and we really appreciate it here on the channel. But thank you so much for watching once again. I truly appreciate you guys tuning in. And of course, as always, stay nerdy.